Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Sauti Plus Media Hub, and I'm your host, Elizabeth, aka Lizo. And today is an important day and afternoon to remember as we have very important people in our house today in Sauti Plus Media Hub. And I'll start off with one that is known by you, our one and only Sheila Kasabiti. She'll say a word or two, introduce our dearest people, and we can kick off with this conversation.
All right. Thank you so much, Lizo. Hello, everyone. My name is Sheila Kasabiti. I am the programs manager at Richer Hand Uganda. I'm blessed to have in our presence our team, our partners from Kenya and around the world, in Africa as well. Amplify Girls. They have done tremendous work with Rahul. They have helped us in amplifying a lot of the voices on ground for the young people. And we are passionate about the work they do. And they have demonstrated that passion through the kind of partnerships that they have selected, organizations and the linkages that we're really so proud to work with. I'll throw the ball right to Lucy for her to introduce herself, and then Zach.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sheila. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us, Lizo. So my name is Lucy Minayo. I'm the co-CEO. I'm one of the co-CEOs at Amplify Girls. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. Very excited to be part of this conversation. Lizo, Sheila, and Zach. Over to Zach.
Of course. Well, the co-CEO might have been a spoiler. So I am the other co-CEO, Zach Fowler. I am based in the US. I live in Washington State. I've been with Amplify Girls now for a few years. Was very honored to be a part of some of the earliest conversations around Amplify Girls about 6 years ago. And I'm very excited to be here and overjoyed to be in the presence of the Rahu team, the Sauti team. I think that the work you're doing here is outstanding, and we're very, very honored to be connected to it.
Thank you so much. As I know you are as blank as I am for the first time, I am totally blank. But I think just by the name of the organization, Amplify Girls, I can get a clue or something, a word or two. But I'll throw the ball back to Zach. What is Amplify Girls?
So, Amplify Girls is a network of a few dozen community based organizations throughout East and Southern Africa. So, we work in 5 countries: Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Malawi. And in these 5 countries, we work with community driven organizations that are working tirelessly and brilliantly and innovatively to lift up adolescent girls. Now, they do this in a number of different ways, and our partners have the total free ability, as they should, to focus on whatever's most effective in their community for the adolescent girls they work with. But our job is to make sure that those organizations that have been critically and chronically underappreciated and undervalued receive the respect that they deserve, and that they have access to key resources that might open doors for them. One of the main things we're very interested in is helping them understand how they impact the lives of girls and how we know that girls' lives are changing. But that's our job as a network, is to provide that support, some access to research and resources that are vital for those organizations, and advocacy opportunities as well. We want to lift them up and help them continue to do strong work with the girls they know best.
Thank you so much, Zach. Lucy, as Zach has stated, it's a network and it's big. And being that you're from Kenya and right now you're here in Uganda, Rahu being one of your partners and the organizations that you're dealing with, why Rahu?
Very interesting. So I think so our partners come from, they are doing various things. They work on different issues. They work on sexual reproductive health rights, among others, education, etc. So Rahu came into Amplify Girls through an application process. We were working on a study that sought to understand issues to do with agency among adolescent girls. So we put out an advertisement to have organizations based in these 5 countries join the network for purposes of participating in the study, but also becoming part of the network. That's how Rahu came into the picture, and that's how Rahu is part of Amplify Girls.
You've mentioned the word agency. Can you throw more light to it?
Okay. Agency. I think many people understand agency in different ways. Empowerment. People, when they're talking about agency, they're talking about empowerment and many, capacity building, etc. Our understanding of agency through this study is the capacity of a girl to advocate for their own issues and to take action in the community in relation to issues that are affecting them or concerning them. That's how the network understands agency.
Thank you so much. Sheila, as Zach and Lucy have mentioned that Rahu is part of the partners, for how long has Rahu been with Amplify Girls, and what has Rahu attained from Amplify Girls?
Well, the journey is short, but has really been long in terms of the achievements that we have made. Amplify Girls is one of those key partners that has come on board and amplified the kind of research that we need to do to understand what are the issues the girls are facing in the communities. I think, if I'm to remember right, the first research that we did was one that we did in the school communities, where we were asking the girls the different key issues that they're having and how best they're able to voice them out, and how best do they feel informed, if they do they feel well informed enough to even voice out the issues that they have. And I think that was one of our pioneering researches with Amplify Girls that has made us even deepen our work that we are doing, having more of evidence driven innovations in place. Earlier on today, we were explaining and showcasing to them the kind of activities or innovations that the young girls have done at Rahu and at Sauti Media Hub. And one of the key things that stood out while they were viewing, and the comments and the feedback that they were saying, is as Rahu, we have exceeded our expectations. We are delivering beyond what is expected, and I think that speaks volumes coming from a partner who has not been with Bahu for so long. It speaks volumes in terms of reaching the last mile of girls in the communities, and it speaks volumes in terms of pushing out the right content and being really intentional to reaching out to the young girls. So that is one of the key things that I take away from the discussions that we had earlier in the morning, and appreciating having you on board, or appreciating to choose to work with Richer Hand because of that key niche that you saw in them and their targeted focus towards addressing urgency for the young girls in the communities.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Zach, you mentioned that you and Lucy, you mentioned that research is your top key priority, to see to it that you understand the adolescent girls and see to it that they are impacted. So let me say for the past year, what is the research that you attained out in the whole research that you attained, mostly in our country, Uganda?
That's a great question. So there's no way to answer what Amplify Girls has been doing on the research front for the last year without describing what Amplify has been doing for the last 6 years
Oh, wow.
about the research. So when Amplify Girls first came together, we started with a group of less than 20 organizations and have more than doubled that now. But the initial group was a part of a series of conversations, interviews, surveys, these really complex processes to understand their top priorities. And these community organizations identified through a process that the number one thing they wanted for the girls that they were serving was a stronger sense of agency in those young women. And so the question then became, if we're going to help these community driven organizations elevate and reach to the next level, get the attention and the respect they deserve, how do we help them prove that they're increasing agency? That's their number one goal. How do we show that they're doing it? And so for the past 6 years, we have been working tirelessly with the network and with key researchers, Dr. Auburn Allen Seidel, who's based in the US, and Dr. Brenda Oulo, who's based in Kenya. Together, they run an organization called the Girls Agency Lab, and we've been working with them to create one of the world's first psychometric measures for girls' agency. So this is a survey tool that can detect agency levels in an adolescent girl and allow you to track it over time. So you can give it at the start of a program and the end of a program and know if you've made a difference in that girl's agency level. So the research that we've been doing for the past year or two, most recently, has been validating that survey, strengthening that survey, making sure that that survey does what we claim it can do. And that has been a process where we worked with more than 8,000 adolescents to test the survey, to refine the questions. This really came out of a big brainstorming session with partners 6 years ago. And the first version of the survey had 107 questions in it, which obviously is far too many if you're going to give it to an adolescent girl. So the process of getting it down to something that's manageable is also the process of testing and researching which questions matter, which questions tell you really valuable insights and which ones don't. And so we're finally in the final stretch here where we're almost ready to make this tool publicly available for any community organization. And along the way, of course, we've learned some things about agency and how it performs in adolescent girls as it relates to this tool.
Amazing, Zach. as you're getting to the end of the whole tool to be finalized, what are those questions that you're found and they're like the topmost? Like, can you get a sneak peek of those questions?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest questions that still remain are, well, I'll tell you the big one. And so for us, our definition of agency goes back to what Lucy was saying earlier, that agency is effectively an adolescent girl's ability to effect change in her life and in the community. According to the research that Dr. Seidel led up with the Girls Agency Lab, that means understanding both a girl's ability to make change and her belief in her ability to make change. So you have to both know that you can do it or think that you can do it, and then have the skills needed to do it. Those are two different things. What we found as we've broken agency down into different divisions, basically, there are 4 areas that define agency overall. The one that's hardest to capture, this is the question that we're still working on, is what we call environmental beliefs, which basically is a girl's understanding of how easily her environment can change. And this is very tricky, I think, for anyone that's working with adolescent girls, because you can have a girl who is extremely confident, who is extremely skilled, has the support of herself, her colleagues, her family, everything. But if she looks out into the world and says, ooh, I think I'm going to get a lot of backlash if I try to make a difference, does she really have agency? That's the question. And the question of how do you test that? How do you get at that belief? That's been the number one challenge in trying to create a measure of agency. We think we've gotten there. We think we're going to have it, but that continues to be the biggest question: is how does that question of your understanding of how easily changed the world is around you, how do you measure that?
That's quite a pretty strong question.
Yeah.
I'm lost in it because you may have the confidence, the skills, but then out there, come to think of it.
Yeah, and that's what usually the struggle that young girls are facing. A lot of them, because as much as we're giving them information and only targeting them without the world around them, we're also making it difficult for them. So that's why we always the approach we use and advocacy that we use is more of a holistic look at Elizabeth as an individual and the people around Elizabeth, so that you're designing an intervention that is targeting Elizabeth and the people around her, because those are the ones that are influencing her agency and the level of knowledge, the level of choice that she'll be able to take, and the actions that she'll be able to take from what she knows. So
well said.
That's back to that still. Is this the environment? Do we still tag along with, since we're in an African setting, with the norms and beliefs that come along with it? Like young girls can't stand up and speak. If you're speaking, you're being disrespectful in a community. Is it tagging along with that?
yes, it does. And I'll speak a little about that, knowing that, still looking at Elizabeth as our persona or the young girl and saying,
Proud to be the persona of the day.
and looking at her and knowing she's not isolated from the community in which she's in. She is definitely going to be subjected to the cultural beliefs and practices and norms that are in her community. But then how do you help her stand out of all that, to be able to deliver, to be able to act and do what she believes is right? So that is the kind of approach that we are looking at, a holistic way of implementing.
Thank you so much, Sheila. I like the point of view that you're looking down to the girl, coming down and understanding that we all have different challenges and the communities and environments that we come from are different. Lucy, in the whole process of amplifying the girls' voices and their choices and empowering them, what are some of the challenges that you've seen and noticed? And it's still like a barrier. You have tried, but it's still a barrier and it's there. And you feel if it was removed or shifted, there will be progress in amplifying these voices to a greater height.
I'd say, Liesl, I think that's a PhD question. You've given me a topic to think about, a really good question. So a lot of our partners are struggling. The biggest struggle, I think, is we are in a patriarchal society, and it sounds old and dated and boring, but that's the reality. It's the system it is the infrastructure that has informed the systems that our girls live in and that our partner organizations operate in. And that system is made up of certain beliefs, right? And these beliefs are cultural, the beliefs are learned, the beliefs are taught. We live those beliefs and they become part and parcel of us. And so the biggest shifts we've seen in programming come from the shifts that occur when this system is shaken up and those beliefs are challenged and new beliefs are learned, beliefs that are founded on principles of justice, social equity, human rights, etc., which is where the world is heading today. Things like the Sustainable Development Goals, how do you achieve them if you don't attack the root causes of inequity in our societies? So we have seen that programs that give results that are enabling girls to live fully in and of themselves are programs that have been able to tackle the root causes of social injustice, social inequity, lack of human rights, etc. And more importantly, that are attacking the patriarchal nature of our societies. They are really attacking those fundamental principles that uphold these systems that create all these inequity, inequalities, etc. So that I would say is fundamentally one of the things that needs to be altered for girls to realize, to live fully and in and of themselves, but importantly for the community-driven organizations to operate successfully.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I'm forwarding the question back to Sheila. As Reach a Hand, what is that one challenge? Yes, you've been progressing and you've done amazing work to amplify the voices of the girl child and to see to it that they are empowered and fully believe in themselves and the work and the skills that they're doing. But what are some challenges that you feel that they are very crucial and they have made you to be tied? If they were not there, Reach a Hand would have done way better work than what it has done right now.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I won't differ so much from what Lucy has said, but bringing on board key issues of resources. Resources are a critical point or a critical factor that's a key driver of reaching as many young girls as you can. And looking at the issue of limited resources that is also being gagged currently by the so many issues there's so many issues that are happening in the world, and we are having a lot of donors refocusing their energies on other critical matters and not necessarily the girls' agency. And that has become an inhibiting factor on our end. But to work around it, we have become more innovative and creative. We have brought on board approaches and methodologies that are looking at reaching the last mile girl, a girl who is deep in Kasese, a girl who is deep in Ajumani through the different innovations, so that even when Reach a Hand is not able to raise enough resources, the girl can constantly be able to receive the right information and can always be referred to a facility for a healthcare service that she requires. And some of those innovations are stemmed from working with the community structures that we have. And one of the key things, like, I'm glad you associate yourself by being a peer educator. And that is one of the key root peer grassroots structure that we work with and are proud of. Because without them, we wouldn't be able to reach the masses of young girls that we reach on a daily basis. And also looking at the different communication innovations that have been put out, the ones that we were able to discuss through the Sauti Media app, where young people are able to constantly review different content and information being provided to in form of film, entertaining. That is a very innovative approach, utilizing games, approaches that are stemmed at addressing key issues of access. How do we ensure a young girl is able to access? But that's not to say that resources are not needed for that to happen. Numerous resources are needed for that to effectively be working out in the different communities of implementation. And I think our most inhibiting factor has been resources. We will talk about the policies that we also have in the country. But then one of the key things we have noted is working closely with the policy stakeholders, the policy makers, the MPs, the ones that we feel should not be discussed with these issues, the technocrats that are out there making the decisions on behalf of the young girls, bringing them on board and letting them know that young girls need to be brought on the table. And for that to happen, we have brought on board interventions like the intergenerational dialogues
True.
that we are using to hold our leaders accountable, where you're having the young girl telling the leader, this is the issue I'm facing, but the policies that you're putting in place, I either do not know them on how best they can work best for me, or they are inhibiting the kind of services that I need to receive. And looking at it in that way has helped us to navigate the difficulties and bring on board very different partners that are working on different issues, and being able to look at it from a multi-sectoral approach and say, let us have people from livelihoods. A young girl still needs to have a livelihood.
True.
Let us bring people from health. A young girl still needs to access health services. Let us bring people from the education sector. And having that interconnection has helped to make sure that the young Elizabeth that we're talking about is having a holistic approach around her, so that she's able to even speak firmly and have all her issues addressed and communicated about.
Thank you so much, Sheila.
Liz, I just wanted to say, when Sheila was speaking, something struck me, and it's just now the importance of this kind of work that kind of quantifies or enables you to make the abstract realistic. That is important, yeah. So when you talk about agency and this, beautiful words we keep throwing around in civil society, like empowerment, the other word we use is capacity. So this study is one of the ways in which community-driven organizations and anyone that's working with adolescent girls and young women will be able to actually, in real sense, qualified to actually begin engaging actively, become those active citizens that you want them to be in society. Yeah? And it also, the infantilization that happens in a lot of the work that many of us do. Yeah. So we have, this can be a topic for another
It's very okay.
but for me, the point is that sometimes we can be working on really brilliant interventions, but recognizing that the wearer of the shoe knows where it pinches is where agency becomes critical. So the work, listening to Sheila, I was just struck by the importance of the work that they are doing and the fact that they are able to now, young girls are able to now, using those interventions, they are able to engage in policy dialogues with people that draft those policies on behalf of the country and make it known what their issues are very clearly. And we are now seeing how policies are different. Policies are responsive, or government programs or NGO programs are actually responsive to the lived realities of those individuals. So I just wanted to emphasize the importance of this study and putting those tools in the hands of the people that are working with these communities is critical. And so we are hoping to see a lot more engagement around the study, a lot more adoption of the study, but importantly, a lot more girls and young women occupying tables and spaces and actually being actively involved in the shifts that they want to see in their communities.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I can't wait for this tool. Sheila,
We have tested the tool. It is a marvelous tool. I want to see a bit of the edits that they have done, because I know they have really scaled it down.
I feel like next time, invite me, please.
It's coming. It's coming. We actually, in only a week's time, we are convening our full network of partners in Nairobi, which we haven't done in several years because of COVID. And during this session, we're going to be presenting the final version of the survey, as well as a user manual that helps partners navigate how to give it to girls, how to help them actually take the survey. And we're getting feedback from partners too on whether that's easy to understand, easy to use. But I can tell you right now that we heard the feedback loud and clear that when you're trying to get insights on the mental state of an adolescent girl, it needs to be girl friendly. It needs to be clear. It needs to be relatively simple. It needs to be age appropriate. And so I think the thing that most people are excited to hear is that the original version we started with several years ago, there was 107 questions, is down to about 30, which is much, much better. And from the research side of things, it is still statistically valid and strong as an evaluation tool at that size. So it is shorter, but we've maintained the strength that it had.
I personally was already scared of the 107.
Yes.
They look so engaging. If I'm to give you a sneak peek, when we were utilizing the tool in one of the schools, and the students were so eager to give the information, and some of the answers they give you a aha moment, and sometimes you may not even ask the question on the tool because they're giving you already leading questions that are coming to mind. So it's a very engaging tool, that I can say.
I like tools that involve a lot of interactions, just like she stated in the IGD. I think it was last week we had one in Gombe, one of the districts here in Uganda, and a young girl stood up and asked a question to the counselors and the doctors. They're called what?
The VHT.
The VHTs, those ones. And she asked them because there was an increase in HIV in the space, and she asked a crucial question, and she was like, I would like to go and test, right? But I don't have the power to tell the person I'm dating because they have the power. He's the man. I would want to be like, okay, let's just go and check. It's 5 years. We've been married for 5 years, but anything can go wrong. And when you do that, GBV comes in. They hit you, disrespecting them and all. So the question she asked, how can I do that? How can I convince him? And everyone didn't have an answer. She's like, we want, but we are tired. And it goes back to the agency that we're speaking of. And back to you still, Zach. What is the way forward for Amplify Girls as the tool is coming in a few weeks?
Yeah. So we need to figure out the best way to distribute this tool throughout the world, right? Including it obviously immediately to our network, but beyond that also. And so one of the things we've been working on creating is what's going to be known as the Adolescent Girls Agency Portal. This is an online database that you'll be able to sign up for as an organization, and you'll have access to the survey, printed copies of it, and also an online version of it. It will store all of the data from girls and programs, and you can be able to get your pre-program and post-program results from it. And it'll serve as a library of sorts, a resource library of what to then do with those results. So if you get agency scores and we break them down by those different sections I mentioned, those kind of skills and beliefs that we're looking at, let's say that Reach a Hand Uganda is using it and they see that in the leadership skills section, they're particularly strong. They're above average. The question is, so what? Now what? Right? And one of the things we want to do is to help provide resources to explain this is what that might mean for your programs. This is what that might mean for your curriculum. And this is how you can leverage that. So now that you know those results, go say this to a funder. Go write this into your next grant. Go tell your local policymakers this, and help use that to get some traction and attention and the respect that you deserve. So what we're doing right now is finishing the process of prototyping and beta testing that portal to make sure it works and is ready for full open gates and welcome to anyone that wants to use it. So we'll do that before the end of the year, and then we'll be ready to go.
I like that, since it's a .com area.
Yes.
You know, like everyone would want to be part of this. And and mostly the young girls, the adolescents, you find them like, rather than, there is Instagram, but there is something that you can get information from and understand yourself. I like it. And so do my people like it. I feel like they must love it.
Innovation.
Very true. As we come to the end and of this beautiful podcast, I didn't want to let you guys go because I may not see you again.
Oh,
so sad. But I will give Sheila, what is your way forward as Rahu in this coming remaining months to end the year with Amplify Girls and the whole initiatives that are coming up with?
So our way forward is, one, receiving the tool and utilizing it to measure the level of impact we're having in the communities and understand if we're actually creating agency that we are speaking of, because that will help us even go a notch higher than what we are at now. I know that would heavily influence the innovations that we have, because our innovations are up there, but
Yes, they are.
I know they will definitely influence the way they are stipulated, the way they are being articulated, so that we are reaching the young girls the way they need to reach. So that's what we are looking forward to. And we're also looking forward to ensuring that we do not leave any young girl behind. The statistics that we're seeing on a daily basis are quite alarming. Sometimes when you are in a meeting and they're talking of 17% teenage pregnancy. 17 does seem small, but 17 is alarming because 17 would mean that your niece, your sister is among that statistic and your neighbor. And that is something that we do not want to see happening. So we are looking forward to utilizing the tool, measuring the agency that we're creating in the young girls, and then also improving and working better, having better and more progressive innovations in place that we can utilize to have more impact on ground. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sheila. To you, Lucy, what are your final words as we're getting to the end of the podcast?
Yeah. So not to dilute what has been said, and I'll just emphasize 2 points. So Sheila talked about resourcing, which is one of the challenges that community-driven organizations face.
True.
And that's the work that Amplify Girls is we are going to emphasize in the coming years, just to make sure that resources, we support our community-driven organization partners to actually access the resources that they require to do the brilliant work they continue to do. Those innovations Sheila talked about will not happen without resources.
True.
So a lot of our effort will go towards building that piece of support that community-driven organizations require. Then the second thing is a lot of our partners are doing incredible work in the community. In fact, Zach and I were talking about why it is that we haven't had some of the things that really interesting work that we saw today, very interesting partnerships, etc. How come we haven't seen those? And there could be many explanations, including resources, going back to resources. But then it's also now we are seeing that as an opportunity for us as a network and for us as the team that's supporting community-driven organizations to actually amplify those results, to amplify that work, and to work with the community-driven organizations to integrate strategies that will enable them to amplify that work and bring it to a wider audience. So those are 2 critical pieces that we are going to emphasize on, as well as advocacy itself. Just working closely with the community, with our partners, to be in the right spaces to say the things that are going to affect this resourcing and many other things that will enable our partners to continue to do the incredible work they are doing.
Thank you so much, Lucy. The best is left for Zach.
Oh, I think I'll just say I am so grateful for the opportunity to be here at the Sauti Media Hub and to have met with Reach Ahead Uganda today, to be with 3 very accomplished, powerful women who are doing wonderful work. It's really a pleasure for me personally, but for the organization to be a part of this. I think anytime that the Amplify Girls Network gets the chance to meet with our individual partners and really understand the deeper work behind what their dreams are, their intentions are. I can say this with 100% honesty. I have never met with one of our partners and left feeling anything other than mind blown and re-energized for the work that we need to be doing. If these community-driven organizations are not given the respect and resources that they need, there is no one else doing the kind of work that they're doing. Reach Ahead Uganda occupies such a specific and valuable space. They are needed, they are necessary, and anything we can do to elevate that and support them is both an honor and a mandate. Frankly, it's something we can't live without. So I'm very honored to be a part of this. I'm glad to be here, and we want to thank you for having us on the podcast.
Thank you so much. It has been our pleasure as the Sauti Plus Media Hub team. Thank you so much, Sheila, for bringing us these beautiful guests. As we've heard from Zach and Lucy, it's about amplifying your agency as a girl. And if you don't understand agency, Lucy broke it down for you. And just go down to the different, are there social media platforms?
Yeah, of course. You can find Amplify Girls on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. Yeah.
LinkedIn.
So, my girls who love the internet, it's time for us to first get back to the drawing board and understand what is agency and how much can we attain if we get to understand ourselves and see if we can improve and empower ourselves, our fellow sisters, our nieces, our friends, because it starts with me so that it can spread to the whole nation. I remain Elizabeth Tanzeri, aka Lizo, and this is Sauti Plus Media Hub with Amplify Girls Uganda. Oh, not Uganda, I'm sorry. Amplify Girls Organization and Reach Ahead Uganda. Stay blessed and have a good afternoon.